Are you looking for a podcast where you can hear from real people regarding their real dental drama? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join hosts Bethany Petty and Dr. Rena Kuba as we dive into the solutions we've created and the mistakes we've made while managing dental drama. Let's get started.
Happy July 4th. I hope you guys are having a fantastic holiday weekend. As we are at another holiday, I wanted to take some time to talk about a subject that I get asked about quite frequently, which is what I call kind of some HR basics. Holiday pay, vacation pay. Do employees get paid for team meetings? Do they get paid for training that's required of them? All of those HR basic questions can not only come up once, but oftentimes we forget the answer, or each time a holiday or a meeting rolls around, we're coming back to this HR question. So I wanted to just spend a few minutes today giving you guys some real basic breakdowns on some HR principles. So holidays, here we are on July 4th, and so many clients struggle with what is typical on holiday pay. So I will tell you, most commonly, there are between 6 and 8 holidays that employers choose to pay for in the dental field. If it's 6, then the most common 6 are New Year's Day, Memorial Day in May, July 4th, today, and then Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Christmas Day. So I have found that to be kind of the foundational holiday pay. Most employees are eligible for that holiday pay after they pass their 90-day period. Again, this is what's typical. I do have some clients that tend to stretch that out a little bit, and they want the employee to wait a little bit longer. And I think that's okay. It's not usually a make or break deal with getting an employee. But at the same time, my thought is, this is one of the easy ways for us to be generous and to allow that employee to be paid on a closed holiday. So I recommend the 90-day waiting period, and then they're eligible for holiday pay. Now, keep in mind, you can choose to do the typical 6-day holiday, or I've got several that are closed for a couple days at Thanksgiving and sometimes a couple or more days at Christmas time. So if you have a 8-day paid holiday system, it is normally, of course, New Year's Day, Memorial Day, July 4th, Labor Day in September, 2 days at Thanksgiving, and 2 days at Christmas. So between 6 and 8 is what I would call the most typical holiday pay arrangement. If your office is closed for a week at the end of the year, then ideally your employee has the ability to earn some paid time off. So this is separate from holiday pay. Paid time off is something that they can accrue throughout the year. Historically, we broke these into 2 different categories: vacation pay and sick pay. And it drives me crazy. I don't necessarily love to track both. I tend to like to lump these into one category called paid time off that really encompasses both sick and vacation. Whatever the time is needed for, that's what the time can be used for. So what's most common from a PTO standpoint? So most PTO does not start accruing or is not able to be earned by the employee until they have been there between 6 and 12 months is the most common amount of time. Again, this is not a make or break deal. If you don't have paid time off that they can earn, that is a make or break deal. Most people want to have the ability to take off for a few days throughout the year, whether that's for vacation or sick time, and know that they have an earned benefit that covers that day off. So if you do not have a paid time off policy in place, it should absolutely be incorporated into your practice from a retention standpoint. I have had employees leave my clients' offices and go to other offices because there was not a paid time off benefit there, or it was a very weak benefit. So this is just one of those areas that you can, again, really earn employee retention by having a really great PTO policy. So I'll give you kind of the normal limits here as well. So anywhere between 6 and 12 months is the waiting period. And usually for that first year, or the first 6 months, the employee can start to earn or accrue up to 4 days of PTO. Now, you'll hear me say the term accrue. Some will get to the 6-month waiting period, and these 4 PTO days are kind of dumped on their availability or on their paycheck. They're available at 6 months. That is not an accrual. That is simply a gift of those 4 days that can then be used at any point past that 6 months. Some people set up their PTO to accrue over a period of time. So, for example, if at 6 months the employee can start to accrue 4 PTO days, then usually they would accrue 1 PTO day per quarter. What's the purpose in that? Essentially, the purpose is so that the employee, when they get to that 6-month mark, will not take all 4 PTO days, go on their lovely vacation, and then bail on you. That's really the point of an accrual. Now, if you set it up in an accrual format, and let's say at a year end, they did have a 1-week vacation planned, they've essentially, if they started earning at 6 months, they've essentially only earned 2 days of PTO. Some employers will allow their employee to essentially go negative or go into a deficit with their PTO, meaning they're going to go ahead and front load the 4 days, but ultimately the employee then owes the practice 2 of those days. By the time they work an additional 3 months, they would have paid 1 of those days off. When they work the final 3 months, they will have paid all of those PTO days back, essentially. However, if they were to leave, then you would have to have this all written in your policy manual and very, very clear. If you have front-loaded days that they technically had not earned yet, then they would owe you that out of their paycheck. And so that would be your way of recouping if you did not retain that employee past 18 months. So it's normally after the first year, between 4 and 8 days is regular, or what I see as normal. And then it normally goes up from there. Now, this is excluding holiday pay. So they kind of get their holiday benefit, and then there's a separate PTO benefit. I would say 4 to 6 is the most common that I see for that first year to 2 years. And then normally there's a bump up after the employee has been in the practice for 2 or more years. There's normally a bump up to more PTO days. Sometimes that can go up to 10, sometimes that can go up to 12 or even 14 days, depending upon the practice. I would say if I were you, a practice owner trying to have a really fantastic PTO policy, what I would do is holiday pay at 90 days, and I would do 8 paid holidays. That's a really attractive thing for employees. Then I would do 6 PTO days that are earned after 1 year of employment. So as you can see, I'll go a little bit heavier on the holiday pay because they get to see the benefit of that right away. And then I make them wait a little bit longer and do a higher PTO count at that point. So they've been there a year, and then they can start accruing those 6 days of PTO. That would be my recommendation. And then after the second full year of employment, I would bump that up to 8 days. And I would bump up again after the 3rd year of employment to 10 days. And then that's where I would cap out. I feel like that's a really generous PTO and holiday plan, but it is also one that is hopefully going to help you retain employees, and they see the benefit of that. The other question that I get quite often is what to do about team meetings and trainings and things like that. So team meetings, technically, you are required to pay your employees for any team meeting that they are required to attend. So if you schedule a lunch meeting and you consume that lunch period, you cannot ask them to clock out. Technically, they need to be able to remain clocked in because you required them to be at that team meeting. Doesn't matter if you've provided lunch or not, you still have to pay their hourly wages. If you require a training, meaning you are sending them off to a course or you are asking them to watch a bunch of things online that you've sent them, technically that is a required training, and you should ultimately pay the employee for that training. If it is an elective or optional training, then you do not have to pay the employee for that training period of time. At that point, it is on the employee. If they want to pursue the training, then great. They're not going to be paid for it, but it will benefit them from a performance standpoint, and you do not have to worry about paying them for that. Those are probably the most common HR questions that I get: PTO, holiday pay, and then paid meetings and paid training. I'm hoping that this information helps you, especially as we are sitting today on another holiday. If you haven't evaluated your holiday and PTO time lately, I think it is another great opportunity to do that. And of course, hopefully the meeting and training information will guide you as you schedule meetings and trainings in the days ahead. I wish you all a very happy 4th of July and hope that you come back refreshed and ready to tackle another week.
Thanks for joining the conversation today. We hope that you are comforted in knowing that you are not alone, but we also hope that you're walking away with some really great tips and tricks to try in your practice. We value your feedback, so please take a few moments to rate and review the podcast. Finally, we want to make sure that we're covering the topics that matter to you. So track us down on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. As always, please know that we are rooting for you today as you manage your dental drama.